feeling cold against your skin. Running through the chaos, letting all the sin. Temptation in a bottle, ready for the night. Craving for the thrill, it's time to ignite. Dark desires burning bright. Echoes in the dead of night. No retreat, no looking back on this heart attack.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, what I've been waiting for all afternoon. It's why we didn't come back originally for the late show. But I have in front of me Erin Patterson's reasons for appeal. So if you've been wanting to find out why Erin Patterson is like what her reasons for appeal are, I just got them just on 5 o'clock, and I have them in front of me straight from the court. And I'm gonna tell you about it. These are very interesting reasons, and we'll have to see how her appeal process goes. But right now, I am just perusing through it for a second. So she has 7 bases for her appeal on here, and she claims here a fundamental irregularity occurred while the jury was sequestered that has fatally undermined the integrity of the verdicts and requires the quashing of convictions and an order for a retrial so that justice can not only be done, but seen to be done. Now, this was a point brought up earlier, about 6 months ago, just after the verdict happened. This whole thing came up about the sequestered jury and the circumstances surrounding that. And this, so that justice can not only be done, but seen to be done, was something that the justice had brought up during the trial, something very prevalent throughout the trial, that they wanted that justice had to be not only be done, but seen to be done. And now it appears in this appeal as well. Now they're saying here that it's an interesting point. We'll have to see what happens with that. She also is one of the points is that the judge erred in ruling that certain evidence found. So she's talking about evidence found on SD cards at the applicant's home was inadmissible during the prosecution case, and they're saying that a substantial miscarriage of justice has occurred. Yeah. So here we go, and then one of the other points here is Facebook evidence. They're saying should not have been adduced at trial, and they're saying here that it was prejudiced to her trial and to the applicant, which is Erin Patterson. And they're saying here another one is a substantive miscarriage of justice has occurred because of unfair and oppressive cross-exam of the applicant, and the prosecutor's closing address caused a substantial miscarriage of justice. And what's the final one here? A substantial miscarriage of justice occurred despite opening the case for the prosecution on the basis that there was no evidence of a motive. The prosecution in its closing address changed its case by implying that there was, in fact, a motive for the murders. So there you go. They are the bunch of points here that we will see what happens with this appeal with Erin Patterson. She has 7 points here that she is going to try and appeal her sentence, and we'll have to see what happens. So a lot of different things here in that appeal. There you go. We were very quick with that one. Sean said Ping needs to give you all a minute to join the chat. That's okay. We can discuss it for a second. Hey Hugs, how are you? A second or a third show? This is just an emergency broadcast. This is me getting on here as quickly as I can to bring this to you. And yeah. Sean said, I guess you have fast speed. Possibly. Possibly. All right, hold on. So we will definitely hear more about this in the coming days, I'm sure. And it is sort of what we've been waiting on. What would her appeal be based around? And and now we know. Now we know. So that's all I can report to you at this time. The sort of points about the trial and what point she will look at uh, arguing on for her appeal in the appellate court. Jojo said, "How do you feel about her claims being you've seen it firsthand?" I think these are all things that ask me if you ask me about things in the trial that could be problematic, they are the most likely things that I would have picked too. So I don't think anything here is groundbreaking for people who followed the trial or were at the trial, paid a lot of attention to the trial. I think for most people, these points are pretty obvious, and I think we even discussed a couple of months ago that the one about the jury, the problems with the jury and the arrangements around the jury, they were definitely going to be something that she appealed on. I think that was known for like 5 months now or something. It was pretty obvious that that weirdness around what was going on with the jury, where what was happening in their deliberation and stuff like that. I think that was definitely going to be something that was looked at. What else do we have here? That the judge erred in his ruling that the photos and videos related to mushrooms and things found on the SD card were inadmissible. So I think that one might have been something pretty obvious. What else here? Probative value. Yeah, a lot of things here about things that create an unfair prejudice for Erin. Her cross-examination. She calls her cross-examination unfair and oppressive. And that was when Erin was on the stand during the trial when she chose to take the stand in her own defense. She's now saying, well, when the prosecution got their shot at her, that it was unfair and oppressive is the word she uses here in her appeal. Let's see. Hey Kelly, how are you? You had to watch the election results. Okay. Hey Missy, how are you? You glad to caught today's episode? This is our second show tonight. Yes, rest in peace to the people from the UPS crash in America. So I would say that people asking me how I feel, I think this is all pretty par for the course. And and again, if I had to pick things from the trial that if I was in Erin's shoes and I was going to appeal the verdict, these would be all things that I would have picked up and tried to do as well. I think these are very uh, obvious things that small things that went wrong, and that's where you look for appeals. You look for any edge you can get. You look for anything that might have been slightly ajar, and that you work on that. So I'm not shocked by anything in this appeal. We'll see whether it's granted, what happens. We could be waiting a long time to actually get to this appeal. Could be a year from now. You see the one going on right now for Gregory Lynn. Gregory Lynn's back in court tomorrow morning to continue his appeal in front of the appeal court from 10:30 tomorrow morning. And his one was over a year since the verdict in his particular case. So we are going to probably be waiting a while until Erin gets her shot at an appeal. There's Erin there for you guys. So if you don't know who Erin Patterson is, which I'm surprised if you don't by now, Erin Patterson was accused but now convicted of poisoning her family with poisonous mushrooms in a beef Wellington. She cooked this beef Wellington and It had death cap mushrooms in it. Family members ate it. 3 of them died. A 4th one almost died. He survived. His name's Ian. And they suffered heinous, horrible, like, the most debilitating illness that you could ever imagine. When I listened to the medical evidence at the trial, the things we were told, things like bowel ischemia, things like body parts or organs being deprived of oxygen, so then they die. And these were the like things we were told in the evidence. And you think about what that does to a human. Think of that, your organs suffering from lack of oxygen to the point where they start. They called it necrosis in trial. It was called necrosis, and they would become dead tissue or dead cells, and then that would sort of domino, and it would keep happening, and it would start shutting down the person, and they died from the poisoning. So that is Erin Patterson. That is the case we're talking about here. And to take this back, she is seeking leave to appeal, and she has 7 points which she will try to appeal her sentence on. So that is your update for the Erin Patterson appeal that we had been waiting on. Heard Monday night, Monday evening, that appeal had been lodged. That's what I was told. I was told it had been lodged, and it had been basically put into the system. We got notification today that that was true, and basically it had been lodged for filing, is what we've been told. Lodged for filing. And now we'll move on to the other processes for Erin Patterson and her appeal, and we'll see where it goes from here. We'll see. But you're hearing it here first on this channel, Nights with Ping, bringing it to you. Breaking news here in Melbourne, 5 o'clock on this Wednesday evening. Breaking news in the Erin Patterson case right here. So we will see what happens, but those were the points. I can go through them briefly again for you. That the point number 1, it says there was a fundamental irregularity occurred while the jury was sequestered, and they're saying that it has fatally undermined the integrity of the verdicts. They also go on to say that they think it requires quashing of the verdicts, and for another trial to be ordered, so a retrial. They would like for Erin to be retried, and they say this is so justice cannot only be done, but seen to be done. So there you go. That quote was a real big thing in the trial. It was mentioned a few times about how Justice Beale really wanted justice to not only be done, but seen to be done. And now it pops up in this appeal. Rachel said, Ping, is an appeal standard like it is in the US? Yes. Basically, everyone is entitled to an appeal, and this one has just taken a little bit longer. It used to be that it was 28 days from the verdict date, or not the verdict, the sentencing date. But they were explaining to us a couple of months ago that there had been a sort of change where now you can get. They told us extension was the wrong word, but basically now you can have more time, and you can have double that amount of time now. So 56 days instead of 28. So that's what you can have now. Hey, Linux, how are you? Let's have a retrial if she tells where the phone is that she dumped. So you're talking about phone A? So phone A. I think she did tell in court. To be fair to Erin, I think she did tell in her evidence where she said phone A is. She said phone A she put into a dumpster, and she said she had a what we call in Australia a skip. She said it was brought to her home because she was doing a bit of sort of like spring cleaning, and she said that it didn't work anymore, so she put it into the skip. That is what she contends is the truth about phone A. So that is I mean, I have to be fair and I have to give the correct, information, and that is the correct information. So that is what I can tell you about that. Um, uh, to ask her to provide a different scenario for phone A, I don't know if that would do anything because, well, she would then be sort of telling on herself, incriminating herself, because she'd be saying that the evidence she gave under oath in trial, that she was lying. So I don't know if that would happen. But there's also another point here about the cell tower evidence and evidence of death cap mushroom sightings in Loch and Outram that had been posted to iNaturalist, and they're saying it should not have been adduced in the applicant's trial as the evidence was not relevant and did not have probative value. And they're saying that probative value of that evidence outweighed by its unfair prejudice, and that the omission of that evidence occasioned a substantial miscarriage of justice. So, if you don't know what that is, there was a lot of emphasis at the trial about these cell phone tower records linking what they said, what the prosecution and the jury found as correct, that Erin had gone to these areas where death cap mushrooms had been reported on iNaturalist. They used these cell tower records to say that she was in the same area at the same time where these death cap mushrooms had been reported. They also tried to point out that death cap mushroom is not as common out in this area, and so reportings are not as frequent, and that it's somewhat of a crossover between the two. That Erin ventured into these areas where these reports were. So there you go. Perjury, right? Right, perjury. She would basically perjure herself. I think so anyway, if she did that. Let's see. Yeah, so she says her cross-examination, when it occurred, was unfair and oppressive. And the prosecutor's closing address caused a substantial miscarriage of justice. There you go. And what else here? And they talk about the motive here. A substantial miscarriage of justice occurred despite opening the case for the prosecution on the basis that there was no evidence of a motive. The prosecution, in its closing address, changed its case by implying that there was, in fact, a motive for murder. So they're saying that they basically changed their story or changed their basis of their entire case. It is true. It is true that on opening day in the prosecution's opening address, they told us, and if I remember correctly, it was that we would hear something about a motive, and by the end of the trial, we would be left basically wondering because there is no motive. So that's what we were told on day one. Hey Drew, what's up? I heard she has a new barrister. She does have a new legal team. I think that's been reported already. She does have a new legal team. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, so under Australian law, appeals are not an automatic right, and Patterson's legal team had to convince the Court of Appeal that there might have been legal errors in her trial. They're saying Patterson's appeal was officially lodged on Monday after the court gave her lawyers a green light to challenge the convictions. The grounds of the appeal have not yet been disclosed. Well, I have disclosed them for you on this channel. Um, I not an automatic right. I guess it's not an automatic right in such that you have to prove that there's some sort of um, substance to your appeal. There's something that you can argue in your favor. And if you can't just go to appeal and be like, I want to appeal because I want an appeal. And they go, well, what are you going to appeal on? And you'd be like, I want to appeal that my trial was done on a Thursday in March. And they're like, well, that's not really relevant to anything. Why would we waste our time listening to that argument? So I think you you got to have something that actually relates to your trial. There's some sort of evidence behind it. There's some sort of meat on that bone for them to actually look at it. There usually isn't anything. Well, we'll see. We'll see. And they're saying here, yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up on this. All right. You got to also remember we also have the DPP's appeal. So DPP is appealing the sentence, and they are appealing the fact that it is manifestly inadequate. They're saying that Erin Patterson, that the judge didn't have the right, he erred, like they call it, in giving her a parole date or a parole, yeah, parole. So after 32 years, she can get out of, well, try to get out of prison. They're saying that that is incorrect, that he didn't have the right to do that. Betsy said, "Ping, I don't know what you think, but but she don't have a chance, right? I don't know, guys. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to give. Can I give an opinion on this? I'm not sure, so I'm going to stay quiet." Kelly said, "Ping, how long do we wait to hear if the appeal was approved?" It could be a little while. It could be a little while. I think we might hear something in the next little while, like maybe something to do with like the actual appeal being lodged and the next step in it. But the actual appeal itself, sort of what we're witnessing with Gregory Lynn, it's going to be a while. It could be a year. It could be 18 months. It could be a little longer than that. I think she wants to get this done as quick as possible. So I think it'll be within the next 12 months, but it's up to the appeal court. It's up to their scheduling and things like that. So we'll have to wait and see what they have to say. Linux says she has a chance. George Pell got off. If he could, she can. I would say I would say that you bring up a good point. So he had the Pope on his side. Yes. Often in Australian legal matters, we often bring in the Pope and we're like, yes, Pope, would you like to weigh in on this appeal? Please tell us what you think because we often like you meddling with our legal institution in Victoria. I don't think the Pope is going to be helping Erin Patterson. Yeah, she has a new legal team. Yeah, we're not going to see the guy we had at trial. He is not coming back. We have a different guy. So, so yeah, that is your update. That is your breaking news here this evening that we have got those reasons for appeal now, and I've read you through them a couple of times, but they're fairly extensive. They're not as basic as some of the other types of appeals I've seen. Some of the other ones are very sort of simple. Like it'll be like a sentence. It'll just be like, "Oh, the judge did," or the justice did, blah blah blah. This did that. Her one is quite extensive in sort of the reasoning here. So we will have to see, but she has lodged her appeal now on the, so it says it happened on the Monday, which is what we found out. And yeah, I think the interesting one here is I think it's the jury one. I think to me, this always came up as a problem. When this was broken as news back in July, everyone was sort of looking around going, what the hell is going on? And I think it was, and I don't want to misattribute it to the wrong person. I think it was the Age. The Age newspaper in Melbourne broke the story, and then they got the emails from Justice Beale, and they had the background on this. jury, how the jury was moving, where they were staying, what the screw up with the jury was, that the jury had crossed paths with certain people during their deliberations, and how this doesn't keep it sort of pristine, how it doesn't keep it, immaculate. And that's how the jury should be. They should be sequestered, and they were sequestered away from everyone. And yeah, their point was that during the trial in Morwell, there was so many people coming in from out of the area that there was no places for people to stay. And with the jury not knowing where you're going to finish in the trial, because it could finish on week 8 or week 9 or week 10 or whatever, they can't just book a hotel for 5 weeks in advance because they don't know. They're going to find out when the jury deliberates, probably about maybe a week beforehand, not much longer. And they're saying because of the amount of people that were in Morwell and surrounding areas, the hotels were booked up and there was nowhere to place these 12 people on the jury. They found a place, but so happened that there were other people crucial to the trial that were also staying at this particular uh, motel. So, yeah, these people crossed paths with the jury. They said it was only momentarily, but nonetheless, they did cross paths with the jury members, and that's one of the parts she is appealing on. So they're saying it's a fundamental irregularity and they're saying it occurred while the jury was sequestered, and that it has fatally undermined the integrity of the verdicts and requires the quashing of convictions and an order for a retrial so that justice can not only be done but seen to be done. I would say that, yeah, very. I knew that. Had a feeling that was going to be part of it when that news broke in July. Kelly said, "Ping, is she paying for her defense, or does the state pay for it at this point?" I don't know. I heard she had no more money left. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't keep an eye on Erin's financial situation, but the last thing I read is that she ran out of money like a year ago, and the fact that the court put an order over her sort of her home, that one that we've all seen photos of, that no one can sell that, you can't get a loan on it, you can't pull value out of it. So I don't know. It's not something I know about. Sean said Julian McMahon and the new guy defended the Barley Nine. I think so. I think the Erin's new legal team had something to do with that. Hold on. There was a write up on it. So, oh my god, nope. Hi, Cat. There was, so she has new barristers, Richard Edney and Veronica Drago. They are the two new barristers for Erin. So that is the two new people for her. And I'm just trying to see if there's any more. Yeah, so it's her legal team, which now includes barristers Richard Edney and Veronica Drago. So she definitely has some new people involved. Yeah, let me see here if I can get some more information. Yeah, Julian McMahon, SC, and criminal law academic Richard Edney, and then solicitors from firm Doog and George include Bill Doog. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Probably not. They're going to come for me so bad. And Ophelia Holloway. Ophelia Holloway was at the trial already. And they're saying this new team replaces Colin Mandy SC, who represented her during the lengthy trial. So, yeah, cat attack. It was a cat attack. My cat, every time I do a live show, thinks I'm doing something for him. I don't know why. He just does. Yeah, I got a message. Who's messaging me? Hey, Sean, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. You know, I do all this work for my viewers, and I make sure that you guys hear everything first. Make sure that this is the number one place for you to get any information on these trials and court processes. So big news this evening out of Melbourne. Now we play the waiting game. Now we play the waiting game on when are we actually going to hear this in a appeal court. And Ping Ping might be in his mid-40s by the time we have to do that. So it's going to be a while. Linux said it's a normal defense tactic to change lawyers for the appeal. A new set of eyes can see different things. You could also say she was unhappy with what she got during the trial and that she wanted, again, a new set of eyes to work on the appeal instead of having the same person because maybe she was unhappy with the result. I mean, I would be unhappy if I was sentenced to 32 years minimum to life in prison. So I would be upset too. So that is your update, ladies and gentlemen, out of Melbourne this evening. And that is your Erin Patterson breaking news. You now have your 7 points here. They're saying the first one is the jury, the issues with the jury being sequestered. They're saying it fatally undermined the integrity of the verdicts. The second one is cell tower evidence and evidence of death cap mushroom sightings in Lock and Outram. They're saying that information carried a substantial miscarriage of justice. The third point is the SD card that had the mushrooms, photos of mushrooms and other items on that SD card that was found in Erin's home. They're saying it was inadmissible, and they're saying it carried again a substantial miscarriage of justice. And they're saying the other one, number 4, is Facebook evidence, including evidence from Facebook friends and Facebook messages. They're saying that it should not have been adduced in the applicant's trial, and they're saying it wasn't relevant, and that the probative value of the evidence was outweighed by its unfair prejudice. And they're saying again, admitting that evidence was to it basically gave a substantial miscarriage of justice to Erin. Number 5 is a substantial miscarriage of justice has occurred because of unfair and oppressive cross-examination of the applicant. That is when Erin was on the stand or the witness box, and she was giving her own defense. So she got called. Her team, the defense team, they questioned her first. When they were finished, the prosecution then did their questioning of Erin. She's saying that it was unfair and oppressive during that time. And they're saying the prosecutor's closing address caused a substantial miscarriage of justice. That is your 6th point. And your 7th point is a substantial miscarriage of justice occurred because despite the opening of the case for the prosecution on the basis that there was no evidence of a motive, the prosecution in its closing changed its case by implying that there was. So she's saying that they changed their case in its entirety because they implied that there was a motive on the closing address that we heard at the end of the trial. So they are your 7 points on this appeal. You guys tell me in the comments what you think. You tell me about it. I'm not sure I'm allowed to give you an opinion. So I think I can just tell you the facts, people. I think I can just tell you the facts of what's going on. Rachel said, I'm guessing I'm not understanding why the SD cards would not be admissible. They had warrants to search. Maybe the law is different there. That's not what it's related to. It's related to something that happened at the trial about that SD card. I'm not sure. I have to get legal advice on that. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about it. So I'm just going to say it's something to do with the SD cards that happened at trial. That's all I can tell you. I'm not sure if it's been reported, and I don't want to step my foot in it. I don't want to do that. But I'll just say that there's something there around the SD card that they will probably have a look at now for this appeal. It'll probably be presented in the appeal court. That's it. That's it, guys. That's it. How you guys going? You having fun? You having a great evening? You got a beer? Who's got a beer? I don't have a beer, but maybe you do. It's 5:30. You all gone home now? Ping doesn't stop working. I keep working even after hours. So, and apparently I don't know the PIN code to my own phone. Hey, I want to thank Lisa. Lisa, thank you very much for the donation. It's people like Lisa and Sean who allow the channel to report you this kind of breaking news. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you to those guys. Rachel said, I get you. I guess I'm not understanding. Yeah. You are welcome. Jojo said, she seems to me she was persistent, had a motive to continue this behavior. I think it's very difficult to pinpoint her motive. Extremely difficult. I think there's various different ways you could look at it, and I just don't think we fully know. Uh, I think there's a very easy route you can go and say, "Oh, it's revenge. It's revenge. It's payback." But there's I know people have been killed for less than that. It just after everything we heard at the trial, it just doesn't fit fully. I mean, it might be one of the reasons, but I feel like there's something else there that maybe we'll never find out. Linux says, "Thank you, Lisa and Sean." Yes, thank you to them. She's evil. I mean, that seems to be an opinion of a lot of people. I don't know if that's my opinion. I just think that that is the public's opinion. Let's see. All right. I think that's it, guys. I think I just wanted to bring you that as we got it very, very late this afternoon. But thank you to all of you for coming and tuning in this late in the night. Rachel said, I think we might have come up with several reasons for the why, but we will probably never know. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever know unless it comes out of Erin's mouth, unless it comes out of like her explanation. Right now, I would say she is a convicted woman, so I'm going to speak in that way. She has lodged an appeal, but it's not been heard, so I'm going to speak in the way that she's been convicted. I think like I said, unless it comes out of her mouth and she tells you the full reasons of any of this, then everything we talk about is just speculative. There's no way we can fully know because we're not inside of her brain, and she didn't leave us anything in the evidence to talk about that. There's nothing there that's like a smoking gun as such. There's a couple of things, but they more relate to the offending, not to a reason. They relate more to like how it happened or uh, premeditation and things like that. It doesn't relate to the reasoning. There's a few things, like I said, a few things, relationship breakdowns, behavior between different people, but not it's not like you have someone on CCTV with a gun and like they're like, "Am I gonna kill this person? They ripped me off money or something." I- It's not like we don't have that. Rachel said her messages were pretty telling. I mean, yes and no. Yes, because I think they show the relationship breakdowns between several people. No, because some of them happened so far earlier than this took place. Some of them happened like a year, 6 months, a year and a half before the act of this lunch took place. And you wonder, you go, does someone stay that angry for 9 months at someone that they would go out and pick mushrooms and feed it to them, knowing they were going to die such a horrible death? Well, maybe, but it's very hard to be like, that's the reason why. I found it very difficult to pinpoint anything during the trial, and I listened to hundreds of hours of court time. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. My opinion is that unless Aaron tells us, we will never fully know, and that's the that's my opinion. That's what I think. She's a schemer, slow and determined. Maybe, maybe. I think she's highly intelligent. I think there's a lot of people who say she's dumb and dim-witted, but I don't think so. I think she's extremely smart, and I think yeah, I just think she's a smart lady. Lisa said, "We love you, Ping." Kind of, yeah, that's all right. I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Um, but I hope you never stop. I will never stop. No, maybe one day. Rachel said it could have been a build-up as well. Possibly. Wasn't presented at trial, so don't know. We'll find out in the future, maybe. Maybe if we ever go back to trial, we'll find out more. Um, I love you all. I wasn't expecting on coming back. I was just about to go get my dinner, and then all this sort of happened, and I was like, I have to tell my people on my channel. So now you know. Now you know, like, before the rest of everyone, I bring you the breaking news. All right. Love you all. Have a great night out there. If you're in America, be well out there. Be careful. Check on your friends. If you've got friends in Kentucky, if they are people suffering through this UPS plane crash, I really hope that they're okay. I know there's some people in my chat that have friends that work for UPS in Kentucky. There's people that have friends that work at the airport, people that work around that area. So I hope they're all doing okay. By the way, one last update. We were talking this afternoon about the cold case being solved, and I can confirm that Melinda Freeman's husband, sorry, I was going to say something else, and I was like, wait, no, it is husband. Um, Melinda Freeman's husband is the person being charged over her murder and did appear in court today. I don't know why he wasn't on the MCV records or whatever it is. We couldn't find it. Maybe because it was a late edition today after he was interviewed, possibly. He is definitely the one being charged for her murder. So after 30 plus years, the person that a lot of people thought was her killer is now being charged with her death. So it is definitely him. He is the one being charged and was appeared in court today. And they had an inquest into her death in the late 90s. They had an open finding at that inquest saying there wasn't enough to really pinpoint him as the person who hurt her. But now, today, after like 3 decades, we finally have an answer, and it is her husband. He is the one, Craig Freeman. He is the one who is charged with her murder. So Montana said, wow, their children will have trouble accepting all this. I agree. I think the people sometimes who are forgotten about, especially when it's like a DV or familial violence, it's sometimes the children, especially when they're adult children, by the time the perpetrator is caught, they are grown people. They're sometimes not as insulated as if it was a young child. And those adult children will have to somehow deal with all of this. And I guarantee the trial for that one will be a big one too. So, unless he pleads guilty, but maybe. Rachel said, I feel so bad for her family. Me too, but at least now they have some answers to what happened to that woman, Melinda. At least now they have some form of sort of clarity. Hey, shush. Yeah, we know about it. It's all right. We're talking about it. Here, I want to leave you with this photo, because this is the best photo of her that I've found. Yeah. There you go. I want to leave you with this photo because I like to bring you photos of the victims, because I think sometimes we forget about them, and we're so focused on the perpetrator that we forget about the people that are no longer with us. The reason we talk about these cases, the reason we go to these courts and have trials and things like that, are because of the people we're missing, not the person that's sitting in the courtroom. So I leave you with this photo of Melinda there with her child. So hey, again, I love you all. Have a great night out there, and I don't know, but I'll find out for tomorrow night's show. Okay. Have a good sleep. For you Americans, what are you still doing up? Go to bed. It's late out there. Don't stay up and watch this show. What are you doing? You got work in the morning. Jackie said, is the husband? I will find out in the morning. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Leather jacket. blanket, feeling cold against your skin. Running through the chaos, letting all the sin. Temptation in a bottle, ready for the night. Craving for the thrill, it's time to ignite. Dark desires burning bright, echoes